Kyle Klingman with Track Wrestling, and guess who we got here? We got two-time NCAA champion, four-time All-American, three-time finalist, and he is the current assistant wrestling coach at Wyoming. And we'll also add this, undefeated in high school, Edmond North, four-time state champion, and he was the homecoming king at his high school. Teyon Ware, how are you?
Doing good. Can't complain.
You still proud of being homecoming king?
I don't even really. It's so funny. I laugh when you said that because I don't even think about that. I forgot all about that. It wasn't even for the sport that everybody knows me for. It was for football, And still these days, it's hard to believe. People still can't believe that I played football because it was so small.
What drew you into football? I mean, you are a little smaller. You wrestled 141, but were you big enough to even play competitively? I mean, you're good.
Well, like I said, I love football because, once again, I like the competitiveness, and it gave me a break from wrestling. It gave me a breather. And to be honest with you, football, you got more fans. And, you see those football games are filled up with thousands of people. So, you're like, hey, man, this is a fun opportunity to go out there and, show them what we can do. And the good thing I liked about football, it also, taught me how to be a team player. Wrestling can teach me. It taught me how to be an individual. If I want something, I got to go get it. I got to do it. And yeah, that can be a good mentality for most part. But also in this life, you got to learn how to be a team. Especially in marriage. Especially in coaching and everything like that. You got to learn how to be a team player and understand. Not every your way isn't the only way. And so that's what football helped me. With like I said, just learning how to be a team player.
You would have been a little bit bigger. Would you have stayed with football?
Of course, I wanted to go football, but when I went down to OU and I saw how big those dudes were, and I saw how fast, I heard how fast they were, I was like, no, I think I'm about to go just stick with wrestling, and it wouldn't have mattered anyway if I would have tried to go to OU. Adrian Peterson came. So I most definitely would have been a bench warmer.
Did you get to know him?
Yeah. Like I said, picked his brain a few times, had him in classes. And so one thing, I liked, I heard that, he was good. He worked hard off the field. And, he struggled in class, but the deal is he did the small things of what you had to do, tutors, going to class, being up there. And so that's one thing I saw as a big time athlete that could have just sat and done what he wanted. He tried to do the small things right.
So where did wrestling fall in the mix on this? Did you just like football and it was just you happened to be a little bit better at wrestling and you were a little bit lighter? Did you like wrestling, or was it more football and then you had to do wrestling as an afterthought?
Yeah, I loved football. I really did. I loved football, but I wasn't a fool either. I saw the success I had, just growing up with wrestling and whatnot. And then when I hit junior high and high school, I saw the success I was having in wrestling as well. And so I'm like, I loved football. I liked wrestling. It was just fun. Wrestling, you got to have that big time passion. And so, but my passion was football. But then I came to a common sense. I wasn't going to be dumb. I was like, no, I got something good going for me here too. I don't need to, because nobody wants to. So what? I got a good D1 scholarship or D2 scholarship. Sitting on the bench is not gonna sit with me well. So why not go be the man? In a sport, that's very tough, and you got to have that passion for it.
Jack Spates is a legendary recruiter. How did he recruit you to come to OU?
Well, we knew the environment. I knew the environment just growing up 30 minutes, from OU. And so, like I said, we follow Oklahoma State and OU wrestling. And so, when we got down there, we knew the environment. We knew a lot of the wrestlers. And so, because my last two choices was OU and Oklahoma State. And it was a tough decision. But I ended up choosing OU. And, a lot of people, they're like, how could you, man? You could have had the best team at Oklahoma State probably ever, And when you look at it, you're like, yeah, you probably could have. But, it felt better going to do it, my own. Go build my own dynasty, instead of just walking into a dynasty. Not pulling the Kevin Durant, not doing the Kevin Durant. Go jump on somebody else's dynasty.
So you went there. I mean, at the time, you hear about freshmen doing so well, true freshmen, and at the time it was pretty uncommon. I mean, Pat Smith had done it, and maybe a few others had won as a true freshman, but you won as a true freshman in, in 2003. Did you know you were ready right away to pull the trigger and be the guy?
No, I didn't, because when I got in that room, my eyes got opened. My eyes were open. You know how in junior high and high school, a lot of times when you're bigger than guys, you're going to bully guys. But, I got in that room and 25-pounders was taking me down. 33-pounders were taking me down, I had to step aside. I had to think. I'm like, man, why are these little dudes getting to me? But then, my mind opened. I was like, these are grown men, first off. And I'm like, these are also 4-time state champions as well. They might be from Kansas. They might be from Georgia. They might, they're all different areas. And so, but I'm like, they've been in this intensity environment, for a while. And so that's something I had to make the adjustment on. And I remember my first week in that room, going hard. I remember Jack pulling me aside and was like, hey, you're supposed to be this hot shot coming out of high school, and you don't even have the fundamentals down. Your stance, your hands are behind you. Now you're just giving them your legs with ease, because I was so used to being faster than everybody. I could hit those corners, but you do that with these guys that have been in the room, they're like, oh, thank you. And they were just taking it. And finally, I had to go back to my basic fundamentals. And then, it took a couple weeks, and then I started getting it, started feeling it. And then as time went on, those guys didn't want to go with me anymore. So when I knew I was improving, when I was like, hey, you want to go? You want to go? And they're like, no, I'm good. So I'm like, bingo. That's when I knew, okay, hey, maybe I can do some things. But once again, in the room wrestling, it doesn't mean anything until I have to get out there in competition. And my first couple tournaments, I took second, in Central Missouri, and then the Missouri Open, I didn't place. And I remember, wow, I can't remember the last time I haven't placed in a tournament. And that was an opener for me, because I'm like, you can be good in the room, but you still got to learn to plan how to translate that out to the mat. And so after getting that feel of not placing, I said, well, hey, I can't feel like this again. And that's what determined me.
Talking about your learning curve, is it true that when you first started wrestling, your very first match, you kicked someone because you thought it was pro wrestling?
Oh, yeah. Little League, when I first started, that's all I knew was WWF. That's what you knew. And I remember coming into practice, I'm excited because my grandma was like, oh, you want to wrestle? And that's the way my mind thought as a 6-year-old. I was like, oh, yeah, I want to get on that. And then I remember that little kid running at me. And I remember my foot came out and he kicked him. And if you knew the environment I grew up in, my coaches, they were hardcore. They were old school and they were hardcore. So to see that, they didn't see that. They wanted to laugh, but they had to scold me too. And they were like, well, what are you doing? And they grabbed me, pulled me aside, and they tell me, you don't do that. That's a different type of wrestling. That's fake wrestling. And they taught me, once again, the basic fundamentals. And that's how things got kicked off, got started.
When you won your NCAA championship as a freshman, it went into overtime, and you got a takedown. You did a backflip. Is that something you thought about doing for a while?
No, like I said, if you know me, I was not big in celebrating, and and it actually kicked in the semis, because I actually did a backflip in the semis when I won in double overtime, and I remember coming out, I was like, I just can't believe I did a flip. I don't celebrate, but it was that excitement, it was that crowd, it was the environment, and then like when the next day when I won the match, it was the way how, because I thought I scored, with 2 seconds left. I thought I scored at the end. So it was like, yes, I got it. And then, celebration. But then when they took it away, I was like, oh man, I hope I did not celebrate too early. I was like, I hope I didn't celebrate too early. Oh my goodness, that'll be the laughing stock. And then and it was a close one because he almost had me. It kept turning into a scramble, and then next thing you know it, adrenaline. I hear that crowd in the background, and that crowd, it just gives you energy. Boom, boom. That's where I was like, well, I didn't think, oh, I got to do two since I won. I felt like I won it twice. It just two came out and just did it.
You get some struggles the next year with injuries, man. You got sixth place, but you overcame a lot. What was that year like, and how did you overcome some really bad injuries to even get on the stand?
You know, like I said, that sophomore year was a sharpening year. You know, because when you're a freshman, you're on top of the world, top of college. I mean, where else can you go? You know, and so my mindset was, it's like, all right, I got to get bigger, I got to get stronger, I got to get better because people are coming after me now. You know, and that was the deal. And I end up rupturing a disc in my neck. Man, I never been injured before. You know, I've never been injured before, and I was like, okay, well, you know, we had an option. Well, I can sit out 3 or 4 months and see if it'll heal on its own, or I can, you know, just redshirt, you know. And, you know, obviously, you know, my coach was like, well, let's just sit out 3 or 4 months and see how it feels, you know. And so I was following my coach, sat out 3 or 4 months, you know, came back excited, fired up. And then, you know, the All-Star match, I remember wrestling more. I remember he threw me in a cradle, and I remember I was sprawling, I was like spread out, like I can't give this up. And I remember he pulled me back, and I hear my ankle pop, boom, and I was like, oh man. And Scott ended up beating me in double overtime, caught me in the cradle, and I was like, I'm hopping off the mat, like, man, I got a hurt neck and now I think I got a broken ankle. And then so you know, once again, you have to go through the rehab, you know, which is not the fun part, but I was like, well, I'm in it. I'm here, whatnot. I've had a tough year and whatnot, and now I can't do nothing about it because the season I'm in end of January, beginning of February. I'm like, I got Big 12s and nationals. Those are the ones I got to make it, and my confidence did drop, you know, because I mean, I started wrestling guys that I can dominate. It was turned into a 1-point match, overtime match, and then but then nationals, my mind went clear. I was like, hey, everybody's 0-0. I got to wrestle. I have to wrestle. So what? I got a hurt ankle. So what? I got a broken neck. Hey, I got to wrestle. And so I was like, nobody's going to feel sorry for me. And I remember, you know, coming out that first match, ready to go, wrestle tough. It was a close one. And and then my second match picked up a little more. And then going into the quarters, felt good. You know, felt even better and got a good win. And then the semis, I remember wrestling, I think it was Nebraska, Manny. And so I remember becoming frustrated. I was going for a signature move of mine, and I got hit for a penalty point. Like I was trying to do something cheap. And I was like, whoa, that's not me. I don't do that. You know, so I let that be the lingering factor of the match and ended up losing, I think, a 1-point match or some overtime match. And then my mind just went downhill from that. You know, and that's when, this is a story I always tell my wrestlers. It's like, no, you know, every match is a different match. I was like, the worst I felt in my college career was when I said 2nd through 8th is the same. Whoop-de-doo. All right. All-American, whoop-de-doo. And I remember my teammate Hayes coming up to me and was like, no, T, you want to bounce back and take 3rd. I promise you, you'll feel better. And I was like, forget that. 2nd through 8th is the same. I trained to be the best, you know, and I got an eye opener. It was an eye opener. I remember sitting there and taking 6, and I looked up and I saw all those dudes ahead of me, and I was like, I'm close to the bottom. And I was like, I am close to the bottom. I was like, you know, and I looked around and I was like, I can't feel like this. This ain't why I do this sport. I cannot feel this way no more. And that's what I needed, because once again, we all love the fans, but we tend to forget. You're going to have a few followers and you're going to have a lot of fans. Fans are just people that come when you're high and then kick you when you're down, you know, and I saw that, and that's what I needed, you know, and I was like, okay, that's going to be my determination for my next 2 years of wrestling.
And then you placed first as a junior, second as a senior.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of battles with Nate Gallick. How'd you get up for those matches with Nate Gallick of Iowa State? That was your main rival.
Oh yeah. I mean, our styles we just clashed. You know, our styles were, I can wrestle a dude that Nate can beat by one, I can major him, you know, or vice versa. He can wrestle a dude I beat by one and Nate will major him. But when we wrestle together, our styles just clashed because we were defense first and we can attack you, but you know, we're going to stay in position. And that's where a lot of our matches came down to was, you know, who can strike, who can find something to get that strike. And a lot of times it fell in his corner. And so, you know, when I, you know, every time I wrestle, I'm like, hey, I got to come out and strike. And a lot of times, like I said, they'll come into overtime and he'll get that strike.
You made a world team in freestyle in 2011, but if I remember right, you tried your hand at Greco for a little bit. Why'd you want to do that?
You know, I did Greco a lot when I was a kid, and I've always liked it. But, you know, I felt I got away from it because I felt Greco didn't get no love. You know, Hayeswinkle did Greco, you know, and I didn't feel like the Greco guys got a love. And so I was like, well, that's why I stuck with freestyle. And so I'm like, all right, well, it's an off year, just off the Olympic year. I was like, I might as well try Greco and better myself because I had the opportunity to work with Kevin Bracken and Hayeswinkle. And so I was like, let's do this for a year. You know, let's get myself, you know, better upper body. Even though I'm confident upper body, let's get even better. You know, I liked it. I loved it. And then after 2008, 2009, I went back to freestyle because I got that call from Kale, you know, when he took over at Penn State.
So you like freestyle better on the whole, though?
Yes.
Wait, I mean, the transition, though, you see some freestyle guys trying their hand at Greco. How hard is it to make that transition?
I mean, the rules change so much. You know, I with the Greco rules, I used to like it where a guy had to start down and, you know, and try to score, but then they changed the rules. And, you know, you can be on your feet the whole time unless somebody got hit with a stall warning and everything. I always tell guys, I wrestled during the Great Depression of wrestling because the rules were, I see why they was wanting to get rid of wrestling, you know, freestyle Greco wrestling for the Olympics because the rules were off. And so the rules I like were the 08, 09 rules where, you know, if you didn't score on your feet, you know, you can go down, you can go top and bottom, which so was like a somewhat like folk style. And I had explosive stand-up so I could stop guys from trying to throw me, but I also could throw guys as well.
How are you liking it out at Wyoming right now as an assistant coach?
It's good. You know, once again, this is a stepping stone. This is when I took the job, it's, you know, to grow here, to come here, make some noise, put Wyoming on the map and better myself. And I believe that's what we're doing. We're Wyoming. Like I said, I didn't know where Wyoming was before I got out here. So when I got the call from Mark, I was like, where? And he was like, Wyoming. I was like, let me see where that's at, man. And I looked and I was like, I mean, the only towns I knew were Cheyenne and Casper and Jackson Hole. You know, so like the cities that, you know, I was like, is it by Cheyenne? And he was like, oh, it's about 30 minutes. I was like, okay. And I remember when I came out here and I visited, you know, I was like, wow, this place is pretty. I didn't know it was like this. And he was like, yeah, it's a pretty place. And if you know me and Mark's history, Mark recruited me at Oklahoma State. And so I turned him down. I said, no, it's too country up here at Oklahoma State. It's all cowboys. I ain't in no boots and Wranglers and all that. And I'm like, no, I'm good. and then when he called me to Wyoming, I was like, aren't they the Cowboys? He was like, yeah. And I was like, oh, man, I don't know about that, Mark. You tried to get me to Oklahoma State. Now you're trying to get me to a place I don't even know where to go. And then when I came out, I was caught off guard. Liked it. You know, we prayed on it. And my wife and I, we moved out here 5 years ago, and we've been going strong.
So are you country now?
No, I've learned some country. I've learned some country things. Like I said, I've learned some country music. You know, I've diversified myself, should I say, because, I mean, Mark, that's all you're going to get is country. I mean, some deep country that I know pop country. I mean, Mark, I don't know, he got that stuff on records. And so he plays that in the wrestling room, and I'm like, I can't get motivated to this. But you got some country kids out here that are singing it away, and I'm like, this was out before you was even thought of. And that's what they was growing up with. And I'm like, but they tried to get me in boots and all that. I'm like, nah, I don't know about that. But I like the branding. We do branding. They hunt. We go out to the mountains. So I'm slowly but surely, you're taking on the country things. I don't know if I want to be in the big city, like, I've been so far away from people. I actually like that it's so spread out here, and so, but the cold, I just can't do. I'm not a man of the cold, but the summers I can do here.
What's your mainstay for music then? What do you listen to?
I'm hip hop, R&B, I actually like all, I'm pop, rock. It depends what I'm doing, and so, like I said, my music genre, I got my rock list, I got my pop list, I got my gospel list, I got my hip hop, I got my R&B, and then it just depends what mood I'm in. And so, but I just tell Mark, I can't get down to no country love while I'm trying to put some hands on somebody. I need something to get me up, rock or hip hop or something.
I was hoping you were going to be wearing a cowboy hat for this interview.
That's one thing I haven't taken on either. Now people gotta understand, Oklahoma, now they think we're with this Joe Exotic thing. That's what they think we are now. Out of Oklahoma. And I'm like, no, those are certain parts. Those are the outskirts of Oklahoma. But I'm like, Oklahoma is a country state too. I'm like, those dudes are Wranglers and boots and the hats, and I'm like, I couldn't adapt to that. Now, could I ever wear a cowboy hat? Yes, I can. I can. I just haven't found the right one yet.
So, being at Wyoming, working with these guys, do you still have it in the wrestling room?
That's a good question. If you ask them, they will say yes. I go with these guys. Once again, it's good to stay in shape, but it's also, I know, as me as an athlete, I tell them, this is how I got sharper. Because guys get so content and complacent of beating each other in the room that they really ain't growing. They're not developing because their pride is so high in that room. They're like, I got to beat this teammate so he doesn't talk trash on me. And it's like, no, it's not to get out of the room. Nobody gets a scholarship for practice. And so I tell these guys, I always went with coaches. One, because I know my coach, will hold me accountable. And two, hey, my coach wasn't going to hurt me. He might hurt my feelings, but he wasn't going to put me in a situation to hurt me. Some guys, they will wrestle and they'll do anything. They'll hurt you to get the score, and I knew my coaches weren't going to do that. That wasn't the case. And so a lot of these guys love wrestling with coaches, but we put these hands on them. Me, Mark, Ethan, and McCade. A lot of guys, they learn their lesson with Mark too. He might look like a stick figure, but he gets on them and he breaks them. He puts it on them.